People really don't know what their expenses will be because they don't know how long that they're going to live.
Americans are worried they won't have enough saved for retirement now more than ever.
Retirement is going to cost, for many folks, over $1 million.
Is no sure thing in investing, but a lot of people think that annuities may come close to that.
It's going to more safe things that they know. If they know they're going to need that money to supplement their retirement, well, then you can't play that risk.
This is the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr., founder and partner of Heischman Financial Services, serving the Columbus and surrounding areas. Jon specializes in educating pre-retirees and retirees about safe money strategies and ideas. Now, it's the Safe Money and Retirement Show. Here's Jon Heischman Sr.
Good morning and welcome to the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I'm your host, Jon Heischman. I want to talk about 4 stages of retirement and see if you can figure out where you're at based on your age and where you're at in your work history. Before I get started, I want to remind you that past radio shows are available on my website. Possibly you missed one and want to catch up, or there's a particular topic that would interest you. Go to my website, which is HeischmanFS.com. That's spelled HEISCHMAN, the initials FS.com. You can contact me by email through the website with questions, or if there's a particular topic that you would like for me to discuss. The number is 888-426-0177, 888-426-0177. Let's talk about these 4 stages, which I do spend time talking about these stages with people who are retired or getting ready to retire in the near future. These 4 stages, it covers a lot of ground, but one stage that I think is very important is the accumulation years, because in the accumulation years, that's when you're building, growing money for retirement and retirement income. The accumulation phase starts when you enter the workforce, and that's when you're more aggressive. So if you're under age 50, you can be classified in that accumulation stage. You're supposed to be aggressive. Also, you need to make sure that you are diversified. If you're not, changes in different segments of the market can really put a damper on your savings and maybe even make you frustrated. And many are frustrated when the market goes down and they see the effect it has on their 401k, and they might even be discouraged from contributing to their 401k account. Yes, it's going to go up and down, but if we look back in history, it's always came back, and over the long haul, it provides excellent growth, especially when you're receiving matching funds. I think it's important that your 401k account or any other retirement account, such as a TSP, 403b, to make sure you're balanced in the right accounts based on your age and based on your risk tolerance. We see situations where these type of accounts have not been rebalanced or reallocations have not been made since the account was started. An example would be, let's say you're age 55, you're going to retire in 10 years. Should you be in risky investments, strategies in that 401k? Possibly. but possibly not. So it's good to review it. Make sure at whatever given age you're in the right strategies that are in that account. Now, keep in mind, you probably don't have a representative or an advisor that can help you and work with you on that account to make sure you're where you need to be to minimize potential losses. For example, you have to do it yourself, or you have to call the company to get their advice over the phone. So we welcome the opportunity to help you, give you advice as to where you're at, how much risk is in that retirement account, and possibly recommend some changes or advise you to stay right where you're at. It's our way of helping our radio listeners at no cost and no obligation. In a volatile market, most people do get scared, and it would be a good way to give you peace of mind knowing how risky your account is. And equally as important to have somebody to talk to and look over, review that account. 888-426-0177. We can schedule a time to meet, talk about your account for a few minutes, and answer your questions and your concerns. Take advantage of this no obligation, no cost service for you. 888-426-0177. Remember, the more you keep and accumulate for retirement means more retirement income. Very important. The preservation stage. What about the preservation of your assets that you've accumulated for retirement? Obviously, we want growth during this stage, but also want to keep and preserve the money that you've accumulated. If you're going to retire, let's say in 3 years, and your retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, pensions, equal about $400,000, you don't want to see that drop 20%, 15%, 10% at this stage of your life. What's the formula? Do you protect 80%, 50%, and keep the balance tied to risk? Well, everyone's different. Everyone's percent is different. And that's why you need to start seeking advice, get the ideas from a retirement planner as to how much needs to be preserved. And I think this is one phase that is really overlooked or disregarded because pre-retirees don't necessarily think about keeping what they've built up and minimizing risk at this point. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the market always comes back, but will it stay back? Will it be volatile? And how long is it going to take you to rebuild what you've lost? Once again, this is money that is going to provide income during your retirement. And don't get me wrong or misunderstand what I'm saying. I think there should be some money at risk. The question is how much and how risky. And I guess I could add one other important point, which is at what point in your pre-retirement should preservation be addressed. 5 years prior to retirement, 10 years prior? And to answer that, it depends. There's several variables that have to be taken into consideration for each individual. And that's what should be reviewed prior to retirement. Today, I think it's more important than ever because of the future, the unknowns that have many people concerned. And I think that concern needs to be addressed, possibly a few changes, repositioning assets, and to make sure you're in a position where your plan is going to survive regardless of what's thrown at us in the future. I don't think it's that difficult, and many times there are no changes to be made or very little, but you need to find out. Get a second opinion, and by all means, make sure you're going to get advice when and after you retire in order to get good income planning that is in your best interest. I don't think anyone should have to worry during retirement, but yet a very high percentage do, and they're facing, which is probably the biggest risk today in retirement planning, outliving your money. So let's prevent that. I'll return with the Safe Money and Retirement Show after the break.
Your journey through life toward retirement can be a tricky path to navigate. A poor decision can lead to serious difficulty later in life. Choosing the right path requires the right help. Let Heischman Financial Services keep you on the path to a safe and secure retirement. Call them today at 1-888-426-0177 or visit their website at HeischmanFS.com. Click on their Ask a Question tab and you can get the answers to your retirement questions before they lead you down a precarious path. Give them a call for a free consultation at 1-888-426-0177. Welcome back to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. To contact Jon, the number to call is 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Once again, here's Jon Heischman.
Welcome back to the second half of the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I'm your host, Jon Heischman. I'm glad you took the time to tune in. I'm going to go into this third phase, which is income. In the first part of the show, I talked about accumulation phase, the preservation stage. So we have preserved our money that is going to generate income. In income planning, I think it's very important to look at the long game, which is challenging because of longevity. Do you know the chance of an individual or at least one partner in a couple living to age 90 or beyond is higher than you might think? Factors affecting longevity. It's going to include health, family history, gender. Women tend to live longer than men. Marital status, wealth, and profession. This is separate from life expectancy, which is simply an average of millions of people within a diverse background and circumstances. Retirement planning for all entails addressing a fundamental uncertainty. How long is an individual going to live, and how long the money will last. Now, for those with a reasonable expectancy of living into their 90s, the complexity only increases. According to mortality tables from the Social Security Administration, half of Americans who have reached age 65 can expect to live to at least 85 for men and 88 for women. The probability of a 62-year-old living to at least age 90 is 30.1% for the average man and 41.8% for the average woman, again, according to Social Security. There is a 59.3% chance that at least one spouse of a couple age 62 is going to live at least to age 90. I think it's imperative that we plan early and revise as needed. Start as early as possible and continue well into retirement years because of longevity. You know, it's not unusual for me to change and upgrade my clients' retirement plans, making adjustments to where we make sure that their retirement income that they've established through me is going to continue through the 90s. It's so important to stay on top of all sources of income that my clients may have when they retire. And I'll give you some examples. Individual retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, and other tax-sheltered retirement plans, taxable investment accounts, Social Security, workplace pensions, annuities, income from employment, whether it be full or part-time, or self-employment, income realized from the sale of a business or property, any potential inheritance, including inherited IRA accounts. When we look at all these different options, so many aren't aware that income can be generated from these potential sources. What about claiming Social Security? When to claim Social Security benefits? It's a key part of retirement income. And as most of you know, benefits can be claimed as early as age 62, with the maximum benefit available at age 70. For those who reasonably expect to live to 90, it makes sense to wait longer to claim. This will provide a larger monthly benefit, and if they live until 90, they will have exceeded their break-even point versus having to claim at an earlier age. And I think that is important to figure out where your break-even point is. Figuring out when to claim, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, and it's one of the important areas that I work with clients in planning Social Security income. And I'll just give you one example. It's particularly important for married couples to be strategic about their claiming, especially with couples with a big earnings gap. It can make sense for the higher earning spouse to wait longer, possibly to age 70, to claim their benefit. This will ensure that if they die first, the surviving spouse will receive the highest survivor's benefit. With the lower earning spouse claiming earlier, this also provides the couple with added cash flow during the early part of retirement. It makes sense, doesn't it? But it's surprising how many aren't aware of this strategy. And of course, they need to be. What about a retirement withdrawal strategy? Once you reach retirement age, it's going to be important to develop a retirement withdrawal strategy in your income plan that's going to support the desired retirement lifestyle that's going to extend into your 90s. The best withdrawal strategy, it's going to evolve over retirement. In the early years, it makes sense to tap retirement accounts such as traditional IRAs, especially if you decide not to work full-time and have not yet claimed Social Security income. There's different strategies, and one that I like is called the bucket approach. Bucket number 1 would be used to fund near-term cash needs, perhaps 2 to 3 years worth of expenses. This bucket would be invested in low-risk, liquid holdings like a savings account, money market fund, a fund that you have access to your money, but we try and get the best rate of return. Bucket number 2 is for immediate term of 3 to 5 years out. This bucket should contain a mix of stocks, bonds, other cash investments with a conservative tilt. The money in this bucket would shift to bucket 1 over time. And the last bucket, which is bucket 3, now this is geared towards long-term growth. Investments here would be stocks, other growth-oriented holdings, annuities providing long-term guaranteed income are typically placed in this bucket with a mixture of volatile stocks that would need to be rebalanced on a regular basis. And along this line, we want to incorporate some tax planning, simply because they can take a large bite out of an individual's nest egg during retirement. That needs to be prevented. So a couple of strategies. We want to determine which accounts to tap in retirement and when to tap those accounts. Using Roth accounts, including Roth conversions, managing those required minimum distributions that you have to take to every extent possible. Maximize Social Security and pension claiming decisions. And this is just an overview that I wanted to give you so you can get an idea of what's involved in income planning for retirement. Many retirees, those going into retirement or the first couple of years, typically will think, well, I've got Social Security, I've got a pension, I've got money in an IRA and a 401k, I'll draw income from that. But there's more involvement in planning and making sure your withdrawal rate doesn't exceed the recommended rule for withdrawing. That's where I can direct you to make sure you have an income well into your 90s. I mentioned there were 4 phases, and actually phase 4 is probably the simplest because it involves managing your accounts, reviewing the income plan on a regular basis, monitoring that, and making changes when needed. In today's world, things change quickly. Time seems to go by extremely fast, and reviews, updates are more important than ever. And those of you that are retired, I hope you're receiving reviews at least once a year to make sure you're still on track. Before I close for this morning's show, I want to give you the number where you can reach me to have a discussion of your planning. What have you done? Where do you want to go? And are you on track to have that income coming in through your 90s? 888-426-0177. HeischmanFS.com. I'll be back next week at the same time on the same station, so be sure to join me. And as with every week, hope to give you some good ideas that will secure your retirement and provide you with guaranteed sources of income.
The Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr. To get in touch with Jon, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. For more information about Heischman Financial Services, visit their website, HeischmanFS.com. That's HeischmanFS.com. Join us again next time for the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr.